If you've ever felt like you keep hitting this invisible wall and you don't really know exactly what that means, but something just kind of seems off, maybe it's that in the form of a lot of negative beliefs that you can't seem to overcome. And it's just this challenge that keeps on weighing you down. And it certainly stalls any momentum that you may or may not have been building. Well, I want to walk you through what that actually is, because you'll go on YouTube and you'll find all these other videos that are kind of more surface level. What we're going to do is we're going to drop down a little bit more in depth to help you understand what the root cause of that is so that you can overcome it for good. What's up, guys? My name is Nico Arapkalis, and I've been studying personal development for over 20 years. I've invested north of $250,000 into my development and our software company so that we can really alleviate this problem, because how many people are experiencing it? I was actually just on a conversation call with a good buddy of mine that I played baseball with, and he's even experiencing this, and I considered him to be like one of the most mentally sharp people that I've ever met. And so if you're feeling this, don't feel alone, okay? We're all experiencing it to some degree, and if you watch this video and actually apply what I'm going to share with you here, it could make all the difference, okay? So I want to share just a quick story on where this really comes from, because it's all part of my work, and this is my life's mission. I played baseball through college. Our senior year of high school, highly touted to win the state title. I froze up because of that. In key situations, I would freeze up, and then I would beat myself up for that, and I would develop something called the yips. And that just basically meant I crumbled under pressure in those certain moments. And then that response kept showing up in my life, whether that was going and talking to girls, whether that was going and getting up on stage. Like an experience I had recently that just like pushed me over the edge was when I was up on stage and I ended up freezing up. There was so much pressure. I was so fucking nervous, and all of a sudden I just froze up for like 20 seconds on stage. And I realized at that point, like, something cracked in me, and I had to like really figure out like what was going on. And so I've been on this mission lately over the last 6 months to really alleviate this. Been working with some of the most powerful energetic workers in the world, and want to help you understand what's going on. Okay. So ultimately what I'm going to be getting into it in a good amount of depth is limiting beliefs. And I was having a conversation with my girlfriend about this today, because a lot of people think like, a limiting belief is either on or it's off. Okay. And a lot of people think that in a lot of different areas of life is that it's just like on or off. It's a yes or a no, when in reality, it's a spectrum. I made a post on my Instagram feed the other day about how I don't believe in ADHD. And you may disagree with that. You may agree with that. I don't really know. But here's the thing is that like people have this, like I'm either ADHD or I'm not ADHD, when it's called a spectrum for a reason. Like, to what degree? We live in a highly unfocused, distracted society, and we've just been trained to like be scattered minded because everyone's trying to pull your attention, and you're telling me that's an ADHD because it's something that you were born with? Sure, to a degree, but at the same time, it all comes back to the stories that we tell ourselves. And where our stories come from are very important. It all relates back to our beliefs. So what actually is the belief that is required for you to become the person and therefore live the life that you truly desire? Okay, let's say that again. What is the belief that is required for you to become the person and live the life that you truly say that you want to be? Maybe I kind of paraphrased on both of those, but ultimately what I'm saying is that it comes down to your beliefs. And if you have limiting beliefs around certain topics, it's just going to keep on holding you down. Think about it like it's this anchor. And if you're swimming, and that's great, like you'll swim and swim and swim, and you might even build up all this muscle, and you're like really getting strong at swimming. But if you have an anchor that continues to pull you down, it doesn't matter how hard you swim, eventually you're going to get so tired that it's just going to pull you down. And as opposed to getting stronger in our shoulders and our muscles and our back, what if we focus a little bit more on letting go of the anchor? Because that seems like it'd be a much more viable and long-term solution. And that's the thing in this world, in the society that we're living in, is it's so fixated on short-term fixes, which comes from a lot of social media, AI, all these things that are just like instant gratification. Amazon can deliver in less than a day, right? It's this short-term gratification. But if we can look at the things that are actually the long-term solutions, maybe they don't are the quick fixes, but they are the long-term solutions, that's when we can really have lasting positive change, okay? So again, coming back to this whole idea of the spectrum, let me just share an example that I was having a conversation with somebody recently. And they were talking about how, they have this belief around, there's something around food. And she actually is dairy free, she is gluten free, and she just chooses not to eat those because it's something in her body that's not accepting it anymore. It didn't used to always be the case, but now she is. And so what we were talking about is the fact that like every time that she confirms and tells everyone that I am this way, or I don't eat dairy, it's triggering this belief that I'm alone. People don't understand me. It's this limiting belief that like I'm separate from everybody else. And because she just continues to affirm that, it just like it's the anchor just keeps on pulling her down more and more and more. As opposed to if she just she just dissolved that limiting belief and said, okay, I'm letting go of this, and I don't have to like continue to feed that belief of saying I'm dairy free, I'm gluten free, I'm different than everyone else, I'm alone, I'm by myself. Like that's the core belief underneath it all, and it's showing up in this food arena in her life, but then it shows up in other areas of her life. Because here's the thing is that one thing is how we do everything, because again, it all comes down to our beliefs, and there's something even deeper than our beliefs, and I'll talk about that here in a second. But every time you feed, like you ever heard the story about the good wolf versus the bad wolf, and which one grows? Well, it's the one that you feed, right? And so being conscious and being aware of what are those beliefs that you are holding right now, so that you can cut ties with those and let those limiting beliefs dissolve, and then choose new beliefs. Because at the end of the day, it's like, what belief is required to be the person that I want and live the life that I desire, as I mentioned earlier. So really, it's about identifying our beliefs and the limiting ones that are holding us down, that are anchoring us down, and then deciding and proving to ourselves, not anyone else, but proving to ourselves of what is the belief that is required to become the person and live the life that I say that I want, right? I shared this on another video recently of like, I had this belief about social media and short-form social media, about how no one's paying attention, no one's even watching. They're all just scrolling. No one's like actually engaging and buying things. And I was like, such a ridiculous belief when I actually voice it out and get it out there. And then I was like, okay, I want this new belief. I want to prove to myself that belief is no longer serving for me. Because that's really, at the end of the day, that's the question. Is this belief serving to me? Is it useful? Is it helpful? And it's not just like an on-off switch, as I was mentioning, right? It's to what degree, right? Because it's always a spectrum. Life is fully a spectrum. Coming back to the whole conversation around the food, it's not like I'm gluten-free, I'm dairy-free. Labels are fables, because every once in a while she does eat dairy. So she's not actually dairy-free. She's just saying that because it's popularized in society to say that I am this free. But again, labels are fables, and we live in a spectrum, not an on-off switch. So just decide like, where in the spectrum are you? And where do you want to go in the spectrum? Because again, for me, within social media short form, like we could say there's a polarity of social media is amazing. It generates me leads, customers, deals. It gets me massive exposure, impact. Like that's the polarity of the belief over here. And on this side is that no one's paying attention. It's a waste of time. I shouldn't create content. It's just scattered, distracted people. And it's just like there's these two opposing beliefs, right? And then from there, it's a spectrum to those beliefs. It's not an on-off switch. Okay, tracking with me? Because here's the thing is that I say, okay, I had a version of this belief, and it was more so like on the spectrum, I was probably right around here, like closer to the like social media is terrible, right? And I want to have this belief over here that says social media is amazing. It allows me to have the impact that I truly desire, and I want and help me build my business. That's the belief that I want. So from there, okay, I've identified this belief. Let's start dissolving that. And I'll probably start sharing some more stuff on this YouTube channel around how to dissolve limiting beliefs. So I want to talk about both sides because, again, we always talk about the woo and the do. There's a dichotomy, right? So we have to resolve that. We have to identify where the emotion is. And in order to heal it, you have to feel it. So go into your body and ask yourself, where's that emotion showing? Where's that emotion showing up in my body? Like really sit with yourself and just notice it, because that's what these energy workers have been helping me with. There's a freeze response, as I mentioned in this story about me being up on stage and me in baseball. There was this freeze response, and it was in my heart when I really sat and I felt it. And the only way to truly heal that freeze response is not trying to like muster up more courage when I go up on stage. You'll eventually hit a point where like the courage doesn't even outlast it, and the courage doesn't even dissolve and solve it, because I've blasted through and I've went on stages and I've pushed through all these places where I've been nervous as shit, and I keep going, and the feeling gets more amplified and more amplified. So the more that I can just observe and feel it, like really feel it in my heart. Sounds super woo, but like this is truly the only way to dissolve it and have that freedom that you actually desire. So you got to feel it. And a practice that has been really powerful for me is just noticing when tension arises in my body all throughout the day. And you make this a practice, but you just notice where the tension comes up. And this can be unrelated to that freeze response, but just notice like where I have like muscles tightening up in my face. And I'm like, oh, I just know awareness of that. And then, okay, let me just relax. So a lot of times it's in my shoulders too. I'll get like kind of tense, and then I'll just like, all right, felt that? Relax it. So it really comes back to this body awareness to notice where it is, right? And just the awareness and feeling of those emotions and where they are in your body, that's actually like dissolving it. Okay, so really understand that that's a practice. We talk a lot about this inside of our Skool Community as well as on our Friday calls. You are more than welcome to join us. All the links are down in the video description. But let's come back to, as we dissolve those limiting beliefs, then it's like, okay, now what is that belief that is required to actually live the life that I want, to be the person that I want? So if I'm over here saying that I want to have this amazing belief around social media is amazing, it helps me impact more people, it gets like true engagement from people, I get customers, I get leads, I get people that want me to be on their podcasts and their books. Like that's the belief that I want, okay? That's the belief that's going to be the most supportive to actually living the life that I want. You know, I keep on asking myself this, and I think we can get looped into this, and I have a lot in my life, is that we're like, oh, something's wrong, something's going on with our business, why isn't it working, why isn't it at the level that we want, when the real question is, what if more people just knew who you were and what you offer, right? And so I have to continue to ask myself that. It's like, what if more people knew about Vision Espresso? What if more people knew about the Vision Quiz that helps entrepreneurs increase their clarity by up to 108%? In less than 20 minutes? What if more people knew about Vision Espresso and how powerful it is to rewire your subconscious mind and identify these beliefs and install new beliefs and identity into your system, right? What if more people knew about that? What if 100 new people knew about it every single day? We'd probably be having a different conversation, right? So that's I'm saying all that to say that like that's the belief that's going to be the most useful, is that social media is an avenue that can help me get to that point where we're building an 8-figure company. So what is required now to actually build that belief? Well, it's simply evidence. As I talked a lot about on one of my last videos with the Dr. Joe Dispenza video, where I showed this microscopic view of these neural connections that get hardwired. They wire together, they fire together, and then there's these new neural connections that can't be broken. Well, what actually creates those new neural connections? It's repetition. It's evidence and the repetition of that evidence. What do I mean? So again, I'll just give an example here with the social media stuff, is that if I want that belief, I just need more repetitions to show me that that is true. Right? And what's really, really cool is that you can either have physical experiences where I like make a post and it goes viral, and I can have even more repetitions if I close my eyes and I visualize posts going viral, the way people are responding, things taking off, opportunity. Like I just see all of that over and over and over again, because every rep counts as like one rep. Is like, think about this. Like, what if you were 500 reps away from going viral and your business completely taking off? What if that's the only thing that's stopping you from actually, hitting those goals? If you had 500 reps. Well, what's cool is like, yes, you could make 500 posts and you'll eventually get a post that takes off, and that will be a piece of evidence. But you can also go into your mind and have the evidence over and over and over again. You could have 500 pieces of evidence that your stuff goes viral and your business takes off tonight. Like, you could sit down and visualize. And because the brain and the mind cannot differentiate what is real and what's vividly imagined, it believes that that's true, right? And that neuron is fired and wired together. All of a sudden you believe it, you have this new belief, and things start shaping around those beliefs. Because once you start believing it, you operate like that, it comes off you, and then all of a sudden things start happening because our beliefs shape our reality. Okay? So what is the evidence that you need to build the belief that you want that will actually help you get to the life and the person that you want to become? It all comes back down to beliefs, which then underneath all of that is your identity. Because after that point, it's like, okay, these are all the beliefs that I want, but at the same time, like, the identity is that I'm just the type of person that can grow and create customers everywhere and anywhere. Like, my business just grows, everything I touch turns to gold. I'm the type of person. And so think about that, and that's a deeper level, and we'll go into this on another video, so make sure and subscribe. I'll probably make one of my next 1 or 2 videos all about identity, because beliefs, if you just stack the beliefs, that then becomes the person that you are. And notice when you say things like, I'm the type of person that, and you probably won't even notice that at first. You won't even realize that you're saying these type of things. I was on our mastermind call this past Thursday where the guy was like, I'm just the type of person that's more of a written word person. And he just said that, and he didn't even realize it, right? But that shows that that's part of his identity, that he doesn't believe himself to be a person that can put video content out. He doesn't believe he's a person that can do audio content, even though he's tremendously gifted at both. He thinks that he's just a writer because he's got this identity built around the beliefs that says that, like, this is who I am. So notice that. And then again, it comes back to the beliefs. And then also from there, obviously the main thing is, like, who is the person that you really want to become? Because if you can just identify that, and then you can rehearse that, give yourself enough evidence that this is just the type of person that I am, it's just a matter of time before you actually become that person, the amount of reps that you become that person, and then those beliefs shape around that identity, and then you'll just naturally start living the life because you're just that person. You couldn't tell them otherwise. Just like if, someone came up to like Alex Hermosi, let's just say that, like, hey, you're not a good marketer. You're not a good business owner. And he's like, yeah, I am. And it's not like a debate back and forth. He just believes himself to be one of the best business owners on the planet. That's just his identity. And because of that, his beliefs shape around his identity, and his actions and his thoughts and his emotions all shape around those beliefs because of that identity, that I believe that I'm the type of person that's just like one of the best business owners on the planet. Because he's given himself so much evidence. Yes, on the physical, but like, he sees it all the time. He's thinking all the time. I guarantee, like, he visualizes. Everyone visualizes. It's just, what direction do you visualize? Because most people are visualizing in the negative. They're worrying about all these things, and they're playing these tapes of how things can go wrong. What if you change those tapes and go, what if everything went right? What if I couldn't miss? What if everything I touch turns to gold? And that's really where it all comes down to. So coming back to what we started out in this video, if you feel like you're hitting this wall, it's really a belief and an identity issue rather than like, I got to take more action. Because eventually at some point, you take enough actions, you realize that's not the thing. I experienced that with speaking and putting myself in uncomfortable situations, which is most of the advice out there that says, just go take action, just push through it. And yes, it's a vital part of it. But if your beliefs and your identity isn't shaped in truly how you want to be and serve, you're going to keep hitting that wall no matter how much uncomfortable situations you put yourself into. Because again, speaking on stage has been something that I've always like leaned in and pushed my comfort zone. But after a while, like me pushing through and just taking more actions, just getting on more stages, it wasn't the solve. It really was coming back to dissolving these limiting beliefs, feeling in my body, allowing them to let go, and then choosing the new beliefs that's wrapped in the new identity. Okay? This is stuff that we do all inside of Vision Espresso. So as I mentioned, join our free Skool community. It's free right now. I can't promise it's always going to be free. And then on top of that, the first place to start with all of this is the vision quiz, because it'll help you start identifying what are those beliefs, what is that identity that you really want to start building. And then we have tools and aspects and community that can help you actually systematically create that new belief, that new identity, because we've been doing it for the last 5 years. We work with 400 plus entrepreneurs at this point. And now we're starting to work with teams, sales teams, solar teams, baseball teams. Like, it's really cool what we're doing, but it all comes down to this shaping beliefs and shaping identity. And we've created a system that is just like rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So if you can take action on what we teach you and help you do, it's just a matter of time. So go take the vision quiz, visionespresso.co. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on the next one.